Hey, in this video I'm testing out two different ways of using koji mold to amplify flavors in food. But what is koji? Koji rice is a preparation of the fungus Aspergillus oryzae and has been used for thousands of years to turn simple ingredients like rice or soybeans into flavor-packed miso, soy sauce, even sake. The magic behind koji are its enzymes, protease and amylase, which work to break down starches and protein and bring out the natural sweetness and umami in your dishes. For a more in-depth breakdown of Aspergillus oryzae, check out the America's Test Kitchen video linked below. It's great. Now I love fermentation, so I've been wanting to try this stuff out for a long time. But there's a lot of different ways of using it. So I'm gonna try out the two most popular ways of applying it to chicken and steak, and I'm gonna compare them on video. The first technique I want to try out is the Shio Koji marinade. This technique is probably the most popular way of using koji. It's been used by Japanese home cooks for generations. It's made by just mixing koji rice with warm water and salt, and then you just wait. This is my batch. Started it a little over a week ago. It's kind of porridgey looking. It smells kind of funky. Well, not bad actually. It's starting to smell pretty sweet. Woo! Yeah, that is strong. But it's delicious, honestly. It's got the rich, like deep flavor that you'd get from a soy sauce, but it has a kick of sweetness. Probably from the koji amylase breaking down the starches in the rice into sugars. Yeah, it's gonna be a great marinade. For this preparation, I'll mix roughly 20% by weight Shio Koji with chicken breast and let that marinate in the fridge overnight. I'll do the same with a New York strip steak. And for my second technique, I'll be trying out something a little bit more contemporary. I'll be rapidly dry aging chicken and steak using a koji rice powder. The normal dry aging process uses meat's own natural enzymes to break itself down over a long period of time, resulting in a rich, flavorful, tender piece of meat. Using koji's own natural enzymes, we can kind of mimic this process, recreating something similar to a 45-day aged steak in just a couple days using koji powder. For this process, I'll be blending up koji rice into a fine powder. Then I coat the chicken breast and steak in the powder and let that sit on a wire rack in the fridge for 48 hours. And we're back with day 3 of the great koji cooking experiment. It is finally cook day. The dry aged meats have been in the fridge for 48 hours and they're looking quite dry. The chicken, it's got a nice plasticky kind of hue. A little weird from a chicken, but you know, all the moisture has absorbed into the meats. So they look dry, but in the inside, they're actually packed full of moisture. So when we cook the meat, less moisture is actually gonna get cooked out. Less will evaporate and more will be locked into the meat, creating a juicy piece of meat. We also have the Shio Koji marinade. That's been in the fridge for, let's say 24 hours. That's a little long for a marinade, but it's not that bad. It's just a marinade, what's it gonna do? If it's bad, we'll find out together, I guess. First thing we wanna do is get all of the koji rice powder, the Shio Koji, wash that all off. It won't hurt you to eat it. You saw me eat it earlier, but it will burn really quickly once you get it in the oven, once you get it on the pan, and it's just not gonna taste good. We're gonna do a little bit of salt and pepper on each side of this chicken, and then put it in the oven at 350 degrees till it hits a safe eating temperature of 165. And then we're gonna kick up the broiler for a few minutes just to make it nice and tasty looking for the gram. Our steak will go just as simple. Salt on one side, pepper on one side. Can you guess which one of these is the dry aged? You said this one. Aren't you a smart cookie? We've got a healthy amount of butter in the pan. Add a little bit of Kirkland's finest Toscano EVOO. And then we will throw in the steaks. Going in first, the dry age. Then in second, the Shio Koji marinade. And just like that, we're done. Chicken, steak, cooked, finally. It feels like I've been making this video for, well, days, yeah. But hey, food's done. Now all I gotta do is eat and riff about food for a little bit. Too easy, right? So first thing that stands out is that the dry aged chicken looks a lot better than I thought it would. The outside browned better than the Shio chicken, and the inside even looks more moist. Let's give her a try. It's really good. For being chicken breast, it doesn't taste like chicken breast. This is, it's almost like eating a chicken thigh. It's rich in flavor. It's got a really good texture. You know, it's not overpowering in flavor. You kind of just get the chicken, the juiciness, and then just salt and pepper. It's simple, but it's really good. On top of the dry age, flavor it with something else. Because the dry age, I've never really heard of dry aged chicken before. So I was a little skeptical on this, but it's really good. Like maybe a little bit of barbecue sauce on the outside of the dry age would just make the craziest barbecue chicken. Let's try out this Shio Koji chicken now. The Shio Koji chicken has a lot more koji flavor. It's got more of a salty kick to it. Very rich. It's not as moist as the dry aged chicken, but it's not dry either. Kirkland's Signature blended Scotch whiskey, A+ palate cleanser. Kirkland's Signature, please sponsor me. Kirkland's Signature. I love your cheap Scotch. I mean, honestly, best value in Scotch. 20 bucks for a handle. Delicious. Tastes like you're drinking dark chocolate. It's great. Love it. Love it. Great. Starting to feel it. So with the steak, I overcooked it a little bit. With the filming and doing multiple things at the same time, it's just me here. Kind of let it go a little long, but it's not, I wouldn't call it well done. That's a good bite though. It's juicy, it's tender, it's got a lot of crust. It's good flavor to it. Pretty good. Now I'm gonna try out the Shio Koji marinated steak. Noticing right away, it's not nearly as tender as the dry-aged steak. Shio Koji marinated steak packs a lot more like natural steaky flavors, just like meatiness. The Shio Koji really pulls out that flavor. But I'm chewing on it though. It's not nearly as tender as this dry-aged. So, I wanted to have a more definitive answer on what's better. This dry-aged technique, the new age stuff, or the Shio? The classic, the champion. But it's almost like apples and oranges now. One is for packing flavor, the other is for packing texture, moisture. So really, this comparison actually shows off the versatility of Koji. I think both ways are great in their own separate way. It's hard to compare. Ooh. You know, the Shio Koji marinated chicken, it's a very strong flavor of it. It's kind of like that MSG effect where it's pretty addictive. Mixed with other side dishes, this is the tops, man. You know, it's funny with the Shio Koji marinated steak, it hasn't absorbed nearly as much of that Shio Koji flavor as the chicken has. In fact, not really much at all. It just kind of tastes like steak. It's got a little bit of that flavor on the crust on the outside, but it doesn't absorb into the meat like it does in chicken. So ultimately, day to day, what would I do with Koji? Personally, with chicken, I would do Shio Koji marinade because it's just easy. And for what you get, it just tastes good. I'm kind of a lazy cook. You wouldn't think that by all this effort I just put in now, but outside of my science experiments, I'm just making very simple food. So, you know, I've got pre-made Shio Koji marinade in the fridge. I just mix that with some chicken, throw it in a bag, let that sit overnight. I've got really good chicken, just like that. With steak though, I put a lot more effort in the steak. Steak's a much more fancy meal for me. I don't have steak nearly as much, and when I do, I want a good ass steak. So I buy a high quality steak, and then I'd be much more likely to dry age the steak. I mean, it retain that good flavor that I paid for, but also imbue a lot of tenderness, a lot of juiciness. What I've shown tonight is no matter what you do, Koji is delicious. You just gotta figure out how best to use it for yourself. Figure out what you like the best. I'm not you, I can't make you the best food, but I know now how to make me the best food. So, really, don't be afraid to play with your food. Thanks for watching. Don't be afraid to play with your food. Thanks for watching. All right, that should be enough. Please be enough. Jesus, please be enough.